All right, good morning, everybody. Are we ready to start? You people in the back.
Can we come up there?
Yeah, you can come. If you're here, we can't be here. You can ask her to scoot back a little bit. I can move this over. So we're doing super supple neck and shoulders. Amber's ill, so I am subbing, and we're doing really super supple neck. So we're gonna the whole thing. I was last night going, oh, I don't think that's supposed to be there. So that's what we're working on. We're working on that right there. So we're going to start with a calf stretch because the tension in our lower legs directly affects what's happening when we walk to our neck and head. So as you start with your calf stretch, you can also let your head hang. And as you're doing your calf stretch, you can check to see that your belly button is centered between your 2 feet. I know I have a tendency to kind of shift my weight over into my stretching legs, so I have to be pretty vigilant to keep my weight centered. And if you find that when you do that, that it's a little bit harder to keep your balance, then maybe your non-stretching foot is too far forward. You may need to scooch it back a little bit. So let your shoulders relax, let your arms hang down by your sides, and just let your head fall forward. Let your chin drop all the way down to your chest, as close to your chest as it will get. And in addition to relaxing your shoulders, you can relax your belly, and you can relax your quads, and you can relax your feet. And you can check to make sure that your knees are fully extended, and then go back and relax your quads again. So since you happen to be looking down, and your arms are just hanging there, and you're not doing anything to keep your hands in any particular position, right? You're not pulling your arms back to keep your hands by your sides. Just notice where your hands are living right now. And notice any difference from right to left. I can see my right hand way out in front of my left hand. Way out being like 1.5 inches. But that's a pretty significant difference.
Are we bent at the shoulder or the neck?
What's that?
Are we bent over at the shoulder?
You're doing a head hang. You're just letting your head drop forward.
I don't see my hands.
Good for you.
Oh?
It's awesome. They should live down by your sides. Mine are living out in front of me.
I saw.
Now, ideally, your ribs are neutral too, right? So, if you have no kyphosis and your shoulders aren't actually rounded forward when your ribs are neutral, that will be another indicator that your hands will live closer to where they're supposed to and not out in front of you. All right, let's do the other side. So we're going to continue to do our head hang, but I'm going to have you ramp your head back. So it's like somebody's pulling on your ponytail, or your imaginary ponytail, from kind of the base of your skull. So this kind of ramping back at a 45-degree upward angle. So your chin is still dropped down, but we're a little bit higher up. We're closer to the base of the skull here. So your chin won't be as close to your chest as it was the first time. And check all those same things. Relax the belly, relax the quads. Make sure your weight is back in the heel of your stretching foot. And if you find yourself having to do a lot of work to keep yourself in this position, you may need to move your non-stretching foot back a little bit. And a little bit could be 1/2 inch. It could be 1 inch. It doesn't have to be 6 inches or 3 inches. It could be just a little tiny bit. Shoulders relaxed, arms just hang in there. was going to put on music, but I also wasn't going to film, so I guess it's good I forgot to put on music. Tends to be a little distracting on the videos. And if you guys are watching videos and you like it with the background music, send me an email. Alright, we're going to go back to side 1, and we're going to take it to a soleus stretch. So I think I'm going to turn sideways for this one for the benefit of the camera. So everything starts the same way, and then we're just going to bend both knees. So we're going to go back to our full head hang. We're going to let the whole thing drop down, let the chin drop all the way down towards the chest, but both knees are bent. Get a little bit deeper into the muscle that's deep to the gastrocnemius and the Achilles tendon. So if you find going downstairs is difficult, keeping your heels down, I always take the stairs down here, trying to keep my heels down, kind of using that as a little soleus stretch with every step. Also double check that your belly button is still centered between your 2 feet and that you didn't shift all your weight over into your stretching leg. Relax the shoulders. See if you need to kind of wiggle them around a little bit, because that habitual pulling back of the shoulders, we don't even realize that we do it. Even if it's improved, which I know for probably everybody in this room, it's improved, there's still probably that little tiny bit of pullback that you do. So see if you can let that relax completely. Belly relax. I always love doing the belly release when I've got my profile to the camera. It's always nice to know that that will be recorded forever. Till I delete it. I'm not talented enough to Photoshop a video.
One frame at a time.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal to me. I don't have that kind of time. I'd rather work on my core strength. Alright, let's turn around and do the other side. Or just do the other side. I'm going to turn around. So we're going to do the same thing that we did last time. So start with your head up this time. We went from head hang and then ramp. So this time start with your head up in a ramped position. Bend both knees. So we get down into that soleus stretch. And then drop just the chin. So imagine you're still keeping the head ramped and you're dropping just the chin. Relax those shoulders. Imagine you've got 20-pound sandbags on each of your shoulders.
Where are you supposed to feel the soleus stretch?
More than likely, the greatest sensation is going to be in the Achilles tendon. Here. Yeah. Your Achilles and gastroc kind of blend into the Achilles tendon, and that connects down to the heel, and then that kind of blends into the plantar fascia on the bottom of the foot. Anybody else have a hard time, have to keep reminding yourself to keep your belly button in the middle?
I'm surprised.
I just keep shoving my weight over there, like, get that stretch.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to come down onto the floor. So for you on camera, we've got the half dome. I have a block. I have a light weight and just something to sit on, which is what the bolster is going to act as today. So we're going to start, actually, you know what, I wasn't going to do this, but let's do this since we've got the bolster. Let's go ahead and start with some bolster angels. So we'll open up the chest a little bit. Be kind of cool to go back and double check what your where your hand position is when you're standing there with your head hanging and your shoulders relaxed. if your arms still end up out in front of you when you're done with this. So you might want to pause the video when you're done. We're not going to do it. We're not going to repeat it in here, but you might want to pause the video and just do a repeat check. So as you're lying back, you may need to have something underneath the back of your head. We've got shoulders on the bolster and rib cage off the bolster for this one. And then we have a clip embedded in the skull. That's always nice.
Pleasant.
My hair back for the sake of the video, and now I'm suffering just for you. Alright, so you've got your ribs relaxing down towards the floor, maybe not necessarily on the floor. If your ribs are totally flat on the floor, you're probably too low on your bolster, and you probably just have your head and your neck on your bolster, so you might want to scoot yourself up an inch or so. So arms out to the side, palms up. You can go all the way to thumbs down, if you like. And, wow, that just feels good right there. Alright, so you're going to pretend, those of you in California, you're going to pretend like you're making sand angels, and everybody else in the rest of the United States is going to pretend like you're outside right now making snow angels.
Or
In
ice.
the warmth, or ice angels, yes, in the warmth of your home.
Hi, Michael.
I'm tickling his foot.
I got his foot too.
We're in the sardine mode here.
As you're doing your angels, think of reaching the elbows away from the shoulders the whole time. Think of that traction, like we've attached your elbows to some fancy contraption that moves in the same arc range of motion and is really kind of keeping a constant tug on your arms. Don't think of your hands or your wrists as moving away from the shoulders as much as your elbows. We're really creating space at the shoulder joint, length across the chest. Take note of, once the arms get to shoulder height, if there is a tendency, desire of your body to lift the rib cage up. So you want to keep that rib cage relaxed down. You don't have to keep it muscled down, but see if you can alter that habit of your body of wanting to lift the rib cage up. So that might mean the arms come further away from the floor as you move to the overhead position with the arms, and that's okay. It's okay. Oh, this feels good. Alright, let's do one more up and down or down and up, depending on where you are when I said that. And then we'll have a seat on our bolster. Alrighty, so you're going to have a seat on your bolster, and you're going to have your light weight. I actually have a 5-pound weight, but I only grabbed it because we don't have that many 2-pound weights. So there's 2-pound weights, 3-pound weights. You can do this with a can of whatever you have cans of in your house. Soup, garbanzo beans, coconut cream, what have you. Ew?
Tessa, are there
Did
any
you
more
say
little
ew?
ones? Anyone else want to?
Oh, beer, cans of beer. Just don't, shake them up and then pop them open. You can also do this without a weight. So like these bolsters have little straps on the end of them. We may end up using that. I don't know. Play it by ear. So you guys are all facing the mirror probably, unless you're not. Unless you're, the odd one out over there. He just wants to be like me. He wants to face the camera for you because I think you can see him. So we're going to take the weight and we're going to flip the palm around. So the palm is facing away from you towards the right hand wall. So I've got my weight in my right hand. And can you see that my elbow is totally straight here? Like if I were a hyperextender, I would be hyperextended here. So I want you to give just a little teeny bend to the elbow. And I want you to actually look at your hand and see if your thumb is closer to that wall than the pinky side of your hand. And I want you to get It's nice with the weight because you can see your weight is parallel to that wall as opposed to not. And we're going to just, your sitting position here is whatever is comfortable for you. So you can have your legs straight out, you can have soles of your feet together, doesn't matter. But try to get your pelvis in as neutral a position as possible. So if you're sitting with yourself way tucked back, you're going to want to elevate yourself up to block, half dome, that kind of thing. So we're going to take, sorry, I'm already doing it. We're going to take the left ear to the left shoulder. And that's it. Now, if you're watching yourself in the mirror, since we're trying to stretch the lateral side of the neck here, we're not really stretching, we're really just applying some traction to it. But your nose is a good thing to check to see if you can see both halves of your nose evenly, that you didn't drop one side of your face towards your shoulder or lift a chin. So the only thing that should have happened is the ear drop towards the shoulder. Now, of course, I can't see myself, but I'm just hoping I'm doing it right. There's also a tendency to kind of do one of these, thrusting the face forward. So keep your head ramped as you drop that left ear towards the left shoulder. So if you do happen to have a heavier weight in your hand, like I do, this is actually feeling very heavy, even though I'm not even really holding it. It's really just the weight that's applying this tensile load all the way down to my hand. So if you do feel like it's getting heavy, which I feel like it is, I'm actually going to try this. So I'm going to slip my hand into there. Now that's going to create a different load because I've got more extension in the wrist, and I can do the same thing. Actually, you know what, you guys? Why don't you try that? Just so you can experience the difference, and you may choose to do one versus the other. Because the thing with having the handle, and I know a lot of you guys at home have bolsters, and a lot of you probably don't, but if you happen to have a bolster that has a handle on one end or the other, this is a nice thing to try. So you've got your hand in there because you can also allow your body to tip away. So you've got the head dropping over, but you can also allow the body to drop away and get a little bit more, or different. It's different. It's a different kind of load. So if you liked one versus the other, you can go back to the one that you preferred, or stay with the one that you prefer, if this is the one that you prefer. I'm trying to think of other things that you might be doing, like some weird thing with your rib cage. But if you really just kind of let your body weight drop away from your hand, it's kind of almost a modified hanging prep kind of thing. Oh. And then go back, if you have that hyperextended tendency, hyperextensive tendency, go back and make sure that that elbow is still slightly bent and that you didn't just lock it out. All right, go ahead and come up, and you can switch your weight over to the other hand. So watch the position of your hand. You want to be palm up. You're trying to get your palm to face all the way to that left hand wall, trying to get your weight to be parallel to that left hand wall. And we're going to just, again, keeping the head ramped, just drop that right ear towards the right shoulder, slight bend in that elbow. So if you're using the weight, you're not leaning. Only if you're using your hand in the handle, but I think we'll start this way and then I'll guide you on to the next one as my arm gets tired. So you guys that have the heavier weight, did you like it better with the weight versus the leaning?
Yeah.
Yeah? Check in with your breathing. Check in with where your rib cage is too. So when we're trying to keep the pelvis in a neutral position, there may just possibly be a tendency to kind of lift the rib cage in response to that. So see if you can keep your pelvis neutral and your rib cage relaxed down. Sternum as vertical as you can get it here. And your, I don't know if I was doing this on the other side. Maybe that's why my arm got tired. you're not using your biceps really to hold the weight up in the air. That might have been what I was doing on the other side. That's why I got tired. You're really just allowing that weight to rest in your hand and drag all of this down. Again, you can check in with your nose. Make sure you can see both halves of your nose evenly. So if you want to try with hand in the handle, you can switch to that. Of course, if your bolster is twisted, you have to adjust the position of your bolster so you don't rip your arm out of the socket. So I like both. But I like having the hand in the handle so that I can actually apply a little bit more load with my body pulling away. The weight of 2 pounds or 5 pounds tugging on the arm and tugging on the shoulder and the chest and the neck is probably much less than what your body weight would be if you were doing like a single arm hang prep kind of thing. So it's always good to vary the loads. You're going to have different things that your body requires, different loads that your body requires. I was wondering if that worked. I saw that somebody put that block up there. I almost put it away yesterday, and then I realized why it was there. But he could be on the other window, which we have no control over. Is he there?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's more reflective now.
He wasn't here the whole time you were gone.
Oh, he just missed me. He's back because I'm back. I wonder if we can Shazam it, see what he's saying. Is there a Morse code for Shazam? All right, go ahead and come back up. All right, so come back up to center. If you were, I should have done this already, but if you were sitting asymmetrically with your legs, go ahead and change to the other direction. If you're sitting symmetrically with your legs, you may want to choose another option. We'll be sitting here for a little bit, so you can use this as a little bit of hip opening time as well. So making sure that your rib cage and your pelvis are neutral. So pelvis neutral first, and then drop the rib cage down so that your bottom rib lines up over your AS-IS. And let's go ahead and let the hands rest on either side of the legs rather than sitting on the legs. And you may want to start taking note, if you haven't already, of kind of what your habitual thing to do with your arms is during the day. If you regularly stand with your arms crossed, or hands in your pockets, or hands on your hips, or hands behind you. Those are all ways of kind of masking the tension that we have in our shoulders. So we don't really want to allow the weight of the arms to hang there because it's uncomfortable. Also, it feels weird if you're standing in a group of people and you're just standing there with your arms hanging down by your sides. It feels kind of awkward, but practice that, especially if you're alone, because then it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. So you've got your ribs neutral, pelvis neutral, your head ramped as in a gentle way. So you don't need to be like really straining it back this way. Just pull your head back to that comfortable position and turn to look out over your right shoulder. So nothing moved at the spine or at the shoulders. You didn't twist your shoulders to go with it, just the head. So however far just your head moves, that's as far as you're going. And then while you're here, just look around. Look down, look to the left, look up and to the right, look all the way to the right, look down and to the right. If you happen to be looking towards a window and you can see things that are far away, see if you can get your eyes to focus on what's closer and what's further, so you can actually work on depth perception. As you've got your head turned, check in with what you might be doing with your shoulders. So if you're turning your head to the right, you're hiking your right shoulder up to your ear, can you relax that back down? If you've got your hands resting in your laps, can you bring your hands to the opposite sides of your legs so your arms are more hanging? rather than resting. Just that little bit of elevation of the hands resting is enough to take some of the tension off. All right, go ahead and bring your face back to center. Huh? Yeah, go slow. Go slow for this class. So keep your head round and turn to look out over the left shoulder. So if you drive a car, you may find that your right side moves easier than your left side, because you're probably more used to looking out over your right shoulder as you back up your car. But hopefully you look over your left shoulder too when you change lanes to the left. And you don't just like cross your fingers and go. When I used to teach my senior fitness classes, I used to call this your blind spot muscles, stretching your blind spot muscles, because I don't want to be behind you when you're crossing your fingers and backing out of your parking space. Because you know people do that. And one thing I noticed when we were up in Squim is that, because we all had hoods on, that you turn like this when you have a hood on.
Yeah.
Right, because if you turn your head, then you're looking inside your hood.
Right.
And you can't see anybody. Relax those shoulders. Relax your rib cage down. So I happen to be looking at my profile in the mirror right now, and other than the obvious things that I don't like to see, I'm pleased to see that my ribs and pelvis look pretty good right now. Surprisingly so. All right, go ahead and bring your face back to center. Let's see. Let's go right ear to the right shoulder. Let's go. Let's actually hold something. Grab your half dome. You're going to hold it behind you, so you might want to have the flat side towards you. And you're holding it like this behind you. Okay, fingers hanging off the ends, palms pressing into the ends of the half dome, flat side towards you. You're just going to hold that. And we're going to go back to, so you probably feel how already it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. You're not really doing anything except for holding it back there. Can you see how I'm holding it like this? I'm not really holding it. So you do want to hold it. But other than holding it, you don't really have to do, like, you don't have to really lift it, you don't have to really pay attention to what your arms are doing, just hold it, press the palms together. And sorry for you guys that are on the video that are hearing that tap, tap, tapping in the background. It's the bird, and I realize it's very annoying. Oh, you know what? You might want to change position with your feet. Yeah. So go to something different. Whatever it is. It could be wide legs, could be straight legs, but I'm going to go to cobbler. All right, so we're going to go right ear to the right shoulder. We're going to turn to look at the right armpit. And then you're going to pretend like you've got a little ink pen sticking out of your chin, and you're going to draw a smiley face on your chest. Super slow smiley face. So you're going to drop that chin down, and you're making the biggest smiley face you can, but you're still holding your half dome behind you. Until you come all the way up to looking at your left armpit. And we're going to go back the other way.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so does that make sense, everybody? You got like a felt pen sticking out of your chin, and you're drawing a big smiley face on your chest. So you make it all the way back over to the right armpit. Let's go ahead and bring your head back up to center. And now you're going to lift your chin. I don't like holding this thing anymore, so we're going to stop that. I'm the teacher, so I get to decide that. Relax your arms down your side. So notice this. Notice what you do. Notice if you're sitting, how you hold yourself up. If you don't feel like, if this is uncomfortable, just take note of those habits that you have, because they're there when you're not taking note of them, because they're habits. All right, so we're going to keep the ribs relaxed down and lift the chin. Okay, so chest isn't coming up with it. Ribs stay down, sternum doesn't move. You're just lifting your chin, looking up towards the ceiling. Keep your teeth closed. And back to that sitting note of if you're holding on to keep yourself up, that's okay. But see if you can find a position with your legs that you don't have to hold on. maybe you need another bit of elevation, or if you straighten out your legs, maybe the weight of your legs will help keep you forward and keep you from feeling like you're falling backwards. Maybe even just moving your feet further away from you would be enough to keep you from feeling like you're falling backwards. All right, so your teeth are closed, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, you are now a bulldog. Close your bottom jaw, juts out in front of your top jaw. And if Tim were here, he'd be making some comments right now. I don't know what that would be, but whatever. Stretching the front of the neck, throat, starting to get into the platysma. Say platysma. Platysma. Relax your shoulders down. And go ahead and bring your face back to center, and you can return your jaws to normal. How's that? Nice, huh? Okay, so now we're going to turn to look out over the right shoulder. Now we're going to make a rainbow. We made a smiley face, now we're going to make a rainbow. So we're going to go up.
We're not on the left side.
Mm?
Is this the right side? We're not doing the left side?
We do both by going all the way across.
Yeah, I was going back and forth. But, I don't know, I might go the other way and start from the other position. Go all the way over. Oh. Take note of any of the really good spots you find along the way, because we'll probably come back to those. Oh, right there. Oh. That must be the spot that made my ear numb the first time I ever had MFR done. And then, sorry, that was really good, but you can go back the other way. So take note if you're wanting to keep your teeth open, right? Teeth closed gives you more stretch, more pull. You know, when you see really, really old people walk around, and it's like they can't close their mouth anymore. Like everything is being pulled back this way. Like everything is so tight all the way to the fascial level that it's just like so much pull just to keep everything closed. All right, go ahead and bring your head back to center. Let's come down. We're going to do a little suboccipital release. So you're gonna want your block for this one, and you may need your half dome, but try it with your block first. And I'm going to do this sideways. But where you're going to put the edge of the block, I think I'll have to remove my clip for this one, is right at the base of the skull. And we got the fancy blocks for you that have the little chiseled edge, so you don't have a point sticking into your skull. But you're going to want it resting right in that spot, right where the muscles attach, right where it probably feels like it's exactly supposed to be. Now, in trying to figure out how to place this block under your skull, if you feel for the bottom of the block that's on the floor and try to get that flat so all four corners are on the ground, it'll be less likely to pop out underneath your skull. I don't know if I can straighten my legs in between you guys here. So, you can do this with your knees bent, but I like it with the legs straight. And if you straighten out your legs and it doesn't feel good in your low back, here's what I'd like you to do first. I'd like you to draw both knees in towards the chest first before we make any... Huh?
Oh, I'm just
Yeah, before we make any other bolstering adjustments, I'd like to see if we can just let the lumbar relax a little bit, because we're going into hyperextension. That's why the low back is not feeling good, for those of you who it's not feeling good for when you straighten your legs. All right, so see if you can let the legs relax back to straight. If that still doesn't feel good, it's the ribs are still lifted too much. See if you can let them drop a little bit. See if you can let the pelvis, almost think of it as a post tilt, but it's not. It's really probably just getting back to neutral. But you're thinking of kind of pubic bone coming up so that it's in line with the ASIS. And if that still isn't comfortable for you, then you're going to want to take your half dome and put it underneath your rib, or underneath just above your ribs so the ribs can drop down. So it would look like this. So the ribs can drop down here. The reason why I don't prefer this is because you're not going to get the block to hit you in quite the same way. And I think this is going to be way too high. Oh, this might not be too high. Everybody in the room okay without the half dome underneath the ribs? Everybody feel okay in the back? Okay, so if you're watching this on camera and you needed to put the half dome underneath the ribs, you can go to the tall end of the block unless you've got the 12-inch block, in which case it's probably going to be a little too high. But that would work to do it that way. So you've got that block just pressing in right at the base of the skull. Does that feel good, you guys? Is anybody not sure what they're doing? Everybody feel like they have it in the right place? I can come check your position. Oh, good? Okay. So while you're here, you can also turn your head to the right. And you can turn your head to the left. So you're just moving along the base of the skull, along the edge of the block. And then you can come back and rest in the center. So this is a release just like our psoas release, our hip flexor release. You don't have to do anything, you get to just lay here. Right now I'm really wishing we had the hooks on the wall. Or a bar hanging from the ceiling. Alright, we're going to give this about another 10 seconds and then we're going to transition into quadruped position. So we can work on our rhomboid length. So go ahead and make your way to a rhomboid, or a quadruped position rather. Hands and knees. As you get into position, assume the position. As you get into position, you want your thighs vertical and your arms vertical, but make sure the arms are vertical with your shoulders depressed. Your hands should be shoulder width apart. Your knees and ankles should be ASIS width apart. Middle fingers pointed straight ahead, elbow pits pointed straight ahead so that when you bend your elbows, the elbows point directly back towards your thighs. But keep that slight bend in the elbows with the elbow pit forward. And let's go ahead and do this with a head hang to start. I want you to push into the floor and go all the way up to the up position first. The up position is shoulder blades flat against your back. So it's not bottom of the rib cage lifted up, there's no pelvic tilt that happens, so you've still got your lumbar curve at the up position of your rhomboid push-up. As you drop down to the bottom of your rhomboid push-up, your shoulders still did not shrug up to the ears, they're still pulled down away from the ears. Your elbow pits are still forward, and really you've just allowed the rhomboids, which are the muscles between your shoulder blades and your spine, to relax, which allowed your spine to drop down towards the floor, but not your ribs to sag. Okay, so the ribs didn't go anywhere. Your rib and spinal positions stay the same. They just move further away from the floor as you push up, so you can go ahead and push back up to the wide position with your scapula. And the position stays the same. The spine and ribs just get closer to the floor as the scapula come together. There's no change in the bend of the elbows, so there's not a bending and straightening of the elbows. But you must be vigilant of your elbow position, because you want those elbow pits to point forward the whole time. And if you know you have one that's a little bit more stubborn than the other, you gotta put a little bit more attention on that one. You know, if you've got the one kid, it's always running off, you gotta pay more attention to that one, keep them safe. So if you can see yourself in the mirror, check your pelvis position. I'm seeing a lot of flat lumbar spine. I'm seeing a few flat lumbar spine. So check yourself in the mirror and see if you can get that to relax a little bit. There you go. If it moves more, you probably need to go there. There you go. Okay, so this doesn't move. And this doesn't need to come up any further than that. Good, so come up to the top. That's as far as you have to go. So this doesn't need to come up any further. There you go. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to the top, the up position, and then reach your arms out in front. Reach your hands out in front, sorry. And then let your, what are those called? Armpits drop down towards the floor. You can let your forehead come to rest on the floor. Don't back yourself all the way up into child's pose, because we want a space for the spine to drop down towards the floor. You can also do this with palms up. And it's not just flipping the palms up, but you might need to do a little bit of adjustment with the elbows, because you're really trying to get elbow pits up, yeah? I like to do this in conjunction with the breath. So as you're in this position, you can think of, on the exhale, you can think of it one of two ways. Well, I'm sure you can think of it a million ways, but I'm going to give you two options. You can think of it as dragging the rib cage back away from the armpits, or you can think of it as dropping the armpits down towards the floor on the exhale, just to increase the extension of the arms. Okay, I'm going to have you come to a prone position, which is on your belly. And you're going to get yourself into what would look like a standing position, but laying flat on your face. So you're going to be probably forehead on the floor, to keep from breaking your nose. And to keep from having to use your neck to hold your head up, so you can kind of tuck your chin a little bit so your forehead comes to the floor. Arms down by your sides. Middle fingers kind of down the seams of your pants, or where the seam of your pants would be if you had a seam down the sides of your pants. So your thumbs are just kind of barely touching the floor, so you are having to do work with the triceps to hold your arms up. Likely, I'm just going to make a guess here, that likely your ribs are shoving into the floor, and maybe your ASIS is pressing into the floor, and your pubic symphysis is nowhere near. So let your pelvis relax a little bit, which is really probably letting your low back relax a little bit. So your pubic bone gets a little bit closer to the floor. And then see if you can do just a little tiny bit of work to pick the rib cage up. You might not, you'll probably only be able to do that if you press into the floor with something like your thumbs or your forehead. But just see if you can keep from really shoving your ribs down into the floor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a big, huge movement. We're not getting into perfect standing alignment right now. But I want you to have all those pieces in place. You can dorsiflex the ankles and have the toes just touching the floor and get the outside edges of the feet straight. But the whole point is we're going to turn the head to the right, turn your face to the right, and you're trying to get your left ear on the floor. Now, if your left ear doesn't make it to the floor, if you only get to your left cheekbone or the left side of your nose, that's okay. But it's always nice to know just how far your head actually goes. But you also have the floor to help keep your head kind of tractioned in place. I do this laying in bed in the morning before I get out of bed, which is, my mattress is much softer than this floor. It's just a tad more comfortable. And if you're kind of right in front of the ear, if you're kind of right towards the, I don't remember what that's called, but right there. Just take note of that too. So you got a little bit more to go, because it would be appropriate, fully appropriate to be completely ear to the ground right now. So go ahead and bring your face back to center, and then turn your face to the left and see if you can get the right ear to the ground. And take note of the difference, right to left. I'm guessing you've probably relaxed your arms and your legs at least a little bit, yeah? Unless you're still in perfect standing position and your hamstrings are working really hard and your triceps are working really hard.
Are working really hard. Shaking away.
All right, go ahead and come back to center. We're gonna let's finish this last one actually in a sitting position. I was gonna have a stand, but I think we'll have a seat for this one. So pick a different position with your legs than you had before. We've got about 7 minutes left. And we did a little bit of the chin lifting, which a lot of times we avoid that position, but it's really important to keep the length in the front of the neck as well as the back of the neck. It's important for the health of our vocal cords. So we're going to work on that a little bit. Bare skin is nice. So if you can get underneath your t-shirt, you can go up from underneath or come in here. If you're at home, you can strip down, whatever. If you're in here, you can strip down, feel free. But skin on skin is best. So we're going to imagine that your head is kind of suspended in a sling from the ceiling. And we're going to keep that imaginary traction the whole time. So as we lift the chin, which I didn't say this when we did it last time, and I should have. As we lift the chin, we're kind of imagining the head suspended up off the top of the neck a little bit, so we don't just kind of crunch back here on the smaller vertebra at the top of the spine. So you're going to keep that imaginary traction as you lift your chin, and ideally, with appropriate muscle length, the chin would point directly up at the ceiling, and this would be completely flat here. So just like when you drop your chin down towards your chest and you've got, grapefruit sized distance between your chin and your chest, you know that there's tension back there that's preventing the drop of the head. So same thing here. So we're trying to create a little bit more length in the front of the neck and the throat and the platysma. This is the platysma. So you're going to put your fingertips maybe on your collarbones, kind of just above your collarbones, and with your chin lifted and your imaginary traction, you're just going to give yourself a little pull down. So you can see I have kind of my fingertips fanned out because this all goes in a like a Victorian collar. Is that right? Victorian collar? Mm-hmm. Some sort of collar necklace thing. So you're creating traction skin on skin. It's not necessarily a slide down like this, but it is. It's just really, really slow. You don't have to stay in one place. You can allow that slide to happen. You can find the really good spots. You can get in underneath the collarbone. And you can move your head around in relation. So you can, Sheila, are you looking for the shoes? They're up on top of the white cabinet right behind the door. And take note of what happens when you move your jaw around as well. So you might find this come up under the jaw, it might come up towards the temple, it might come up in the skull, in your ear. You might make some connections between things like your ears plugging up, or headaches on one side, or just tension. Yeah, my right ear tends to plug up easier, and like my ears will plug and unplug going up and down from Ojai to Ventura. Yeah. And just kind of explore and experience the sensations that you feel. Some of them might feel. I mean, you could feel any range of sensations. Like it could feel almost kind of a burning or a tingling. Sometimes the fascial sensations almost feel like a searing. And if you let your body guide you, because it will. So you control freaks sometimes have to let go a little bit. Just let your body be in control. I mean that in the nicest way. So you can come all the way back to kind of what I started with, saying that I was checking out this cord here on myself. You can come all the way back to here. Come all the way back to the sides of the neck and apply that same pressure. Oh. We want supple muscles. So we've got about 3 minutes left, so if you spend all your time on one side like I have, time to move over to the other side. If you have those yellow myofascial release balls, the inflatable ones, or even the yoga tune-up balls, any of those are also nice for doing this kind of stuff too, because that'll create traction on your skin, so it's different surface area than your fingertips. And the amount of pressure that you're applying is very light. Like you're not really digging in. We're going more for the fascia, which is more superficial than the muscles. You don't really have to apply a great deal of pressure. Just getting that traction skin on skin is about enough. I've heard the weight of a nickel. So go weigh a nickel, and then put your fingertips on the scale so you know exactly how much weight to apply, and then transfer that to your skin. You'll probably need like a postal scale. Your bathroom scale probably won't be enough. How much does this nickel weigh? Somebody Google that real quick. How much does a nickel weigh? Don't Google that right now. Just kidding. Oh, so nice. We're gonna give it 30 more seconds. It's so nice. So that change in the voice as we age has a lot to do with the fact that we just don't do a whole lot through the neck and the throat. We rarely go to here, right? Especially if we're told, don't do that. Because that's been said, oh, you should never do that. You'll crush your vertebra. If you crushed your vertebra by looking up at the sky, that would be a really poor design for the human. I would think. Oh. You could spend a really long time here. You could come all the way down to the sternum. Oh, it's so good. Down to the ribs. All right, kids. That is the end.
Thanks, Brina, that was great.
Yes, Brina. Too bad it had to end.